Hi, everyone. Welcome to our launch webinar for FlexRule O, the Open Decision Intelligence Platform. My name is Adrian Nagorski. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this milestone in FlexRule's history. With me today is Arash Aghlara, the founder and CEO of FlexRule. This is an exciting time in the decision management space, with AI driving innovation and in parallel organizations recognizing that adopting a more decision-centric approach translates to significantly better business outcomes as they respond to the changes and challenges in the marketplace. So Gartner's recognition of this trend confirms what we've been advocating for quite some time. Last year, they predicted that by 2028, 25% of chief data and analytics officer vision statements will become decision-centric, surpassing data-driven slogans. So FlexRule was recently included in the new market guide for decision intelligence platforms. And this is significant for two reasons. Firstly, it's Gartner's commitment to a new decision intelligence platform category. And secondly, it validates the investment we've made in our platform to deliver decision intelligence end to end. I would also argue that we are one step ahead of the competition as we are an open decision intelligence platform by meeting the decision model and notation conformance level 3, or known as DMN standard for short. So FlexRule makes it easier to model, manage, and execute decisions and avoids the vendor lock-in. The decision models you create can be used in your enterprise ecosystem. What we are announcing today aligns perfectly with the vision we've had for over a decade to provide organizations with a complete toolset to drive the full decision lifecycle. So today marks a major step forward in realizing that vision. So let's go to the agenda. So Arash will unpack the decision intelligence landscape. He'll talk about a little about DMN. Some people might not know about that. And as well as just peel back the layers of decision intelligence architecture. I just want to briefly introduce FlexRule. If we could just go to the next slide, please. So we are headquartered in Melbourne, Australia. We are a leading provider of end-to-end decision automation technology and a decision-centric approach. Our mission is to empower leaders, business, operations, and IT across organizations to improve the speed and quality of key business decisions in a rapidly changing environment. Proudly, we have customers all across the world, North America, Europe, the APAC region. And what I find very interesting is that it's a range of industries, including insurance, finance, leasing, real estate, manufacturing, government agencies, just to name a few. All right, so without further ado, Sir Arash, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Adrian, for the intro. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to start this session with a story from Rumi, the great Persian Sufyan poem. The story goes along this line. So if we have a dark room, it's called Elephant in the Dark Room. So if we have a dark room and we send an elephant in the dark room without anyone knowing that there is an elephant inside the room, and then we ask people to go to the room and identify the object in the room based on their feelings. They touch the elephant, and depends on where they touch. If they touch the tail, they might say that's a snake, or if they touch the feet and foot, they might say it's a sort of a pillar, or the ears, they might identify it as a giant butterfly or a bird or something. Now, the reason I share this story is that the story of decision is very similar to the elephant. More often than not, we see across many organizations that people are trying to understand in their own way of thinking what a decision is. And based on the industry and based on the experience they have and they come from, they have different definition and they use different things to express what the decision is. And this generally brings a lot of problems to organizations because the decision is generally very different from everything we know so far. So it is, for example, in comparison to the process, it is more dynamic than business process. From the authority level structure, hierarchy, they're very different, and the impact of decisions are far-reaching. When it comes to the concept of business decision, we tend to treat them based on what we feel. And as the consequence of that, when it comes to decision-making enterprise organizations, we have a problem of narrow framing, which means we focus too much on details and we tend to lose the big picture. And as the result, we react to when we don't see threats or when we miss opportunities. And especially when it comes to decision making using human judgment, this adds up to the problem of the noise. And let's face it, we as humans are bad in decision making and judgment because of the noise and narrow framing problem that we just talked about. Another consequence of not recognizing decisions as they are is often force people to put different lens to understand what the decision is, and which potentially the worst lens of all is the data-driven approach lens, because you can find anything in data at the end of the day. Remember, we as humans can find faces in toast. We suffer from confirmation bias, and that means you can generally use data, and that's what it is. You use data to justify the decisions already made rather than using data to make a decision. So with that in mind, we also see a lot of problems when you start with data and having that data-driven approach. You generally solve the wrong problem. That is, in data and analytics and data science world, is called type 3 problem. Now, decision intelligence promises to address these issues. So decision intelligence is a practical discipline that advances decision-making by explicitly understand and engineering how decisions are made and how outcomes are evaluated, managed, and improved via feedback. That's the formal definition of decision intelligence from Gartner. But when it comes to the actual practice, how does decision intelligence work? So when we want to apply this discipline in the organization, we just need to understand two things, fairly simple at the surface: decision and intelligence. It is literally the decision intelligence. Now, the problem is, the first problem that we discussed was explicitly defining the decisions as the definition of Gartner says about being explicit about business decisions. So based on what we discussed, most of the root causes of the problem are about not recognizing business decisions as a separate entities. And if we look at the history, we try to understand it from different lenses, right? People coming from the process space, they use process mapping or BPMN notation, or they use proprietary notation, or they use data-driven approach and dashboards. Today, this is not acceptable anymore, because back in 2015, Object Management Group, or OMG, International Organization, Open Membership, Nonprofit Organization for Standards, approved and accepted notation for decision modeling, and that is called Decision Model and Notation, or in short, DMN. It's been quite a few years. This specific notation for business decisions been accepted and been practiced across many organizations with many practitioners. So the first problem of the decision intelligence, how we identify and explicitly define business decisions, can be addressed with the DMN standard, and as it should. Now, how does this work when we're talking about modeling business decisions using this notation? So DMN uses a decomposition technique. That means a complex business decisions are to be decomposed in smaller, easier to understand decision units. And then we establish the dependencies between these decisions. We identify the input and outcome of those decision units. And then we talk to the business operation subject matter experts and the group that those decisions matter to them to understand the metrics of those decisions units that support the KPI of that function. So you can see everything is aligning toward the KPI of the business decision that matters for that particular function in organizations using this decomposition technique. In reality, this is how it looks like. It creates a decision graph. Now, at the high level, what you can see in this decision graph, for example, we are going to calculate a premium for a health insurance. Now, this decomposition technique says this health premium depends on calculate base premium and some situational decisions. And this decomposition can cascade down. You can say these situational decisions have the two different types of decisions if we decompose them based on the discount or the COVID situation. Or if you look at this particular base premium calculation, it requires baseline calculation and some extra charges calculation. So as you can see, this decomposition allows you to build a set of decision units that are connected to each other, interconnection based on their dependencies. And then you start structuring what are the inputs for those decisions to be executed. Now, every single of these decision units, these rectangles you see on the screen, can be implementing different techniques. So for example, some of them might be using machine learning, some of them might be using business rules, some of them might be using optimization, and that's the definition of a composite AI model. So it brings all different techniques of rules execution, optimization, and machine learning together to execute the holistic view of that business decision using this hierarchical multi-step decision graph. So when this is how the DMN uses decomposition to create the business decision. Now, what is the intelligence, the second part of the decision intelligence? So this next pieces of the puzzle about the intelligence is a quite bit of challenge because there are many different types of intelligence. It's about creativity, it's about emotional intelligence, reasoning, problem solving, pattern recognition. And so what is this intelligence that we're talking about in decision intelligence? It is the intelligence that is related to decision making in organizations, and not all of these intelligences are relevant in this context. If we have a look at the intelligence for decision making in enterprise operating in a dynamic and regulated environments, there are certain level of decisions that we need to have. And those decisions have a certain types of intelligence involved. The issue with many enthusiastic people about AI is they push toward building intelligence using data as the data-driven approach suggests. So, but the problem is that we all of a sudden skip so many foundational layers that we need to have in place to build intelligence for using AI, particularly in enterprise organizations operating in dynamic and regulated environment. The way we see it, these 5 layers of intelligence requires to make sure that decision intelligence is successful in organizations that operating in a dynamic and regulated environment. Essentially, decision intelligence is AI for decision making that satisfies these 5 layers of intelligence. The first layer of the intelligence is very important one. It's called knowledge core. The reason it's called knowledge core is because if you look at organizations in any industry you pick banking, logistics, insurance, government, there are generally a very significant domain knowledge is involved in running that organization. It can be domain related to that particular field, or it can be the knowledge on the operation of the business. So the knowledge core is the layer of the intelligence allows to capture those domain knowledge as well as the decisions that are impacted with those domain knowledge. And this is a very core foundation of where the intelligence starts in organizations. After this layer, what we have is called intelligence core. And what that means is now with using those domain knowledge in operation and domain field that we captured along the decisions that are making organizations, now we can implement and we can execute and we can automate those business decisions using different formulas or procedures or rules, which they are based on policies, based on the calculations they require. So for instance, Adrian had an accident couple of days back in the car with the kangaroo. Now, which it makes the claim against that insurance. Now, what policies are available to calculate the premium, for example, for this particular accident that he had? In the context of insurance, those policies, policyholder contracts and terms and agreement, history of the claims, underwriting rules in the rule book, all of those will create the automated decisions based on the knowledge that was captured from the previous layer to make that decision executable and automated. And that's the purpose of the next, this layer, which is intelligence core. In the next layer, which is called expert intelligence, it is the intelligence allowing intelligent agent to understand the environment which they operate, respond to events, and delegate tasks to other agents and humans if they're needed. So this particular layer of intelligence allows the proactive engagement with the environment that automated decision is running. For instance, assigning claims to officer, ensuring they processes the claims based on the SLA they are committed. And as you can see, there are other type of intelligence now involved. For example, optimization, for example, reacting to the events that happens inside the environment they're running. Or another example would be providing the best options of products to the policyholder, ensuring it maximizes the profit for organization. So this, the reason we call it expert intelligence is because of that active engagement with the environment, understanding the environment, and offering a suggestion as an expert to the consumer of that automated decisions. Now, up to this stage of the layer of intelligence, we did not deal with our uncertainties. Now, in the cognitive intelligence, what is going to happen is we are adding another complexity parameter into the decision, which is about the prediction, uncertainty, about the future. So about the forecasting, about the prediction of the price, about many things that has not happened yet. And we, based on some certainty factor and based on some confidence factor, we are trying to predict, and we're trying to include that prediction into the decision result that we make. Now, this, for example, in insurance can be cross-selling or upselling opportunities for sales and marketing. In the Adrian case, they can predict whether they can sell windshield protection to Adrians for the next renewal of the insurance. They don't know whether that's going to work or not based on the history. They have some prediction, they have some extra parameters that now it sits on top of the previous layer, and it allows them to do more intelligent decision about, for example, in this particular case, in the context of cross-selling, upselling. So this particular layer allows to deal with uncertainty, the things that has not happened yet. And the next level of the intelligence, as part of the decision intelligence architecture, is the autonomous intelligence. A very big thing about the autonomy and autonomous intelligence is, more often than not, we see that the discussion are involved about the learning cycle. But what makes decision intelligence approach different in autonomous intelligence is it's not just the data that we need to use to make sure the feedback loop is in place and there is a self-learning for the decision agent. It is the fact that the decision agent will use the impact of already made decisions as part of the feedback. It's not just any data. The outcome of the decisions that already made during the execution along the way in organizations will be feeding back to the cycle of the autonomous, to the layer of the autonomous intelligence to make the decisions optimized based on the result of that impact. So that can be fully automated, or it can be human in the loop, or there are many other options. But what is important is having these intelligence architecture and multiple different layers of intelligence in place allows organizations to progress toward the next level rather than starting with something that they don't know whether that's going to work or not, which essentially is that data-driven approach. Now we define the decision, which we use the DMN to model explicitly business decisions. We define the decision intelligence as part of the decision intelligence, the intelligence architecture. Now, in reality, how do we put this into a practice in organization? This is based on a process or a methodology, for that matter, called decision-centric approach. It is a methodology that brings people, rules, data, process together to ensure organizations can consistently make optimized, customer-centric, situation-aware business decisions while they meet the objective of revenue, cost, and risk mitigation of the business. So you can see all these elements coming now together as how you need to apply, or how you can apply this in your organization with decision-centric approach methodology. Now, this methodology has 3 stages, as you can see on the screen: the design stage, the automate stage, and operationalization. Now, if we go quickly to different stages of this, the first one is the design. The outcome of the design stage is to explicitly model business decisions, and that's what it is. The most important factor in doing that is to separate what from how. We get this question quite a lot. So how a decision is different from process. So process is how, decision is what and why we do the certain things that we do. Now, this separation of concerns allows, as we discussed, significant flexibility and agility for organizations. So the outcome of the decision, outcome of the design stage is the decision model that we use DMN to do, create that decision graph. Now, the next stage of that is automate. Now, once we explicitly define the business decision as the decision graph, this gives us the opportunity to use multiple different techniques at the automate stage. We can use, for some of those decision units, business rules automation. For some of them, we can train machine learning and use the trained algorithm as part of the decision graph. For some of them, we can use different techniques of optimization, like integer optimization or constraint programming or whatever that optimization means, even heuristic optimization, rule-driven optimization. But what is important about the automate particularly is the fact that automate should cover the full cycle of the decision. That means ensuring the decision model is fully automated, so it can ingest the data, it can connect to the environment, so all the data connectivity and data ingestion should be there. Then it can create the context for decision execution. It executes the decision, and then it reflects the result back into the processes and systems and workflow of the organizations. If it doesn't go through all full cycle of the decision, what it means is it's going to be a very isolated impact in the organization, and it's not going to be part of the broader promises that the decision intelligence discussed about it. And once we have this full cycle automation, then we can operationalize it. And what that means is operationalization is just a fancy word for putting the fully automated decision that covers the full cycle in the real environment and let it do the job for us. But in order to make sure it is safe and it is secure and it is reliable, we need to do many different things. We need to have an adaptive control. For instance, if you have a version of the decision already there, is this new version is going to do a better job or the worse job? So we need to have that kind of control there. We need to understand and measure the impact of already made decisions. We need to have the simulation. We need to enable teams that they use decision intelligence platform to collaborate and improve the decisions. We need to do the automated decisions. We cannot rely on IT capacity to deploy the automated decision for us. So this operationalization is a bigger umbrella for making the automated decisions do its job without relying significantly on IT. And it does it in a very controlled manner. So it's not like all or none. We need to be able to iteratively and progressively create a better version of those decisions. And that's the last stage of the operationalization. So now I'm going to show you quickly the latest edition of the FlexRule platform, FlexRule O, where decision intelligence meets DMN, decision model and notation. I'm going to stop sharing and share my other screen. That is always fun, so bear with me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open a, if you look at my screen, this is the home screen of our authoring platform, FlexRule Designer. As you can see, it has a button there directly allows you to open DMN file and start working with the DMN files. So if I open this using a DMN. Let's create test DMN demo project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the standard loan example that it comes with the DMN standard. There is a loan example for loan origination. You can see as soon as I open that particular DMN file from the DMN standard, all the related models are created here for us. I can navigate, for example, to this particular decisions requirement diagram. So DMN has the concept of decisions requirement diagram, which essentially is the decision graph we talked about that decomposes this particular decision about the routing. So this routing is the top decisions that in the loan origination example, it says, what do we need to do with this applicant? Do we need to approve it? Do we need to reject it? Do we need to refer it to someone else? And what is going to happen at the beginning of this loan origination process? Now, as you can see, now based on this particular DMN model, FlexRule supports the full DMN standard conformance level 3. And what that means is we have the full implementation of all the box expression you need. So this is the box expression editor. You can add different contexts. You can add different type of box expression here. We support, for example, if we open this business knowledge, we support the decision table. So if I open, I zoom in and I open this, you can see this is the decision table with all the entry of the decision table, which is conformant with the DMN standard. Or for instance, these input nodes that I highlight on the screen, they are all coming from the DMN model that we opened. But if we open this particular node on the screen, what you're going to see is all the definition of those inputs are also referenced here in your DMN project. Now, the good thing about FlexRule is, let me close all but this particular model. Now, the good thing about this is now we can put this in the debug and simulation mode. One of the powers of FlexRule is this live debugging and simulation capability. So if I come here, I can put the information about this particular applicant, or I can copy paste it from the JSON. You can see all the information is now coming through. Now we can put this model into the debug simulation mode. All of a sudden, what you're going to see is a yellow arrow, yellow highlighting shows exactly what is going to happen in this particular decision graph. And you can go to the next step, which is going to execute a box expression. You can see you are in full control. You can go to different steps of the execution. Or for example, in this particular case, we're going to execute this decision table. So as we execute this decision table, the results are being calculated. And by the way, you can see all the results and inputs and outcome of those intermediate decisions here in the parameters window. So this live debug simulation capability gives you ability to really see what is happening in your decision project, not like a black box. You're actually walking through different rules and scenarios. So if I stop at this point, you can see based on the rules that we executed, this particular application been accepted. Now, this was part of the new generation of the FlexRule O. Another thing is that as part of the DMN, there is a expression language which is called fill. Fill is an expression language, friendly enough expression language, that's what it is, and allows you to build more complex models. When you want to use fill, essentially one of the challenges of using fill is you cannot immediately start testing your expression and see what are the outcome of those expressions. But in FlexRule O, what you can do is you can launch to something that we call interactive shell. I want to copy and paste from a couple of expressions that I have. So for example, you can see we support the full fill expression and you can evaluate them directly inside the shell. So for instance, this particular expression that you see on my screen is for return expression from DMN, which you can quickly see what are the result of this particular expression. Or for example, if you use uppercase, that is going to make the value inside the parentheses uppercase. And they are all they are all fill expressions, and you can test them out here, make sure that it works. It makes it very easy in an interactive way to use those expressions and test them out as part of your design and automation stage when you're dealing with complex expressions. And the help of the full DMN functions is available as part of the integrated environment that we have. Now, that is as far as the demo I wanted to talk. Let me go back and share my screen again. And I hand over to Adrian. Give me a second to share it again, Adrian.
Thank you, Arash. That was an excellent presentation, and I believe you only just scratched the surface of decision intelligence and what FlexRule O is actually capable of. So the potential for transforming decision making across industries is really exciting. And just on a side note, the kangaroo is okay. So,
So
thank
one
you.
of the, Adrian, sorry, one of the other things I wanted to mention that the opportunity for using open decision intelligence platform, as you mentioned, is across industries, but the benefit of that is very common between use cases. So essentially what you can expect from using open decision intelligence, the first and maybe for me the foremost thing is that you empower non-technical people to create, update, deploy, manage business decisions using different techniques. We just showed you, as you mentioned, the very immediate implementation for the second layer of intelligence, which is the rule-driven intelligence. But for the next layer, for example, you can integrate the machine learning algorithm into that decision making. And you don't need to be a data scientist to do that. We have a fully automated machine learning model for non-technical people. With a couple of clicks, you can train the model and use it as part of your decision making. So empowering non-technical people to manage and automate and deploy business decisions and operationalize them increases the operational capacity of organizations. Hence, they are automated. It increases the consistency and transparency of decision making. And because even for data scientist team, when you start with the decision-centric approach, you don't need to deal with the disappointment of type 3 problems, solving the wrong problem for organizations. These are just a couple of common benefits when you start using open decision intelligence platform. Adrian, back to you.
Thank you, Arash. Again, excellent presentation. Thank you to everyone that actually made the time to attend today's session. If you have any questions that come to mind, you can connect with us on LinkedIn or visit our website at www.flexrule.com. We welcome the opportunity to explore how FlexRule O can help your organization's decision making. So for those who are interested in taking the next step, we do offer a free trial. And once again, thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to continuing this conversation. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us.